Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome back to our Intermediate Player Guide series as we are back with part 20. And today I want to talk about central battleship positioning in the game here in World of Warships. So I'm division up with Doom and Void, so we're running a all Japanese division here. And so they're going to work and do their thing. But we spawned in a pretty good spot on the map with Yamato being in the mid. Back here in this domination mode. So in talking with my clanmates, we decided that I'm just going to play a central battleship positioning here. So a lot of times, most players in the game, when they're playing their battleships, they just run to flanks. They go to the 1, 2, 3 line, or they go to the 8, 9, 10 line. Now, sometimes there are battleships that are meant for that type of playing. So, example, Schlieffens. Preußens, your brawling battleships typically play a lot better on the flank. One is you avoiding the crossfire, and typically you have a greater detectability, and that just works better all in all. And typically the brawling battleships have very poor accuracy with their main battery guns. That is not the case for the tier 10 Yamato, with her 460mm main battery guns being over 18-inch guns. As we were able to wreck a lot of things in the game with these 9 18-inch guns. And with her accuracy means that we can do a lot. Also in terms of her very high alpha damage strike with the armor piercing. So we are wanting to lock down the mid section of the map here and try to punish any team from pushing up on a flank. So that's kind of the goal here. Now there's a Yamato on the enemy team, sitting back here at the C2 line. And we also have a similar Yamato doing the same thing on the IJ2 line. So I don't know what the heck was going on with these two Yamato players, but a little bit closer up. Kind of like we're starting off here. I'm trying to see what the lineup is here with the enemy team. Trying to figure out what's going on. We have two Schlieffens running over from the 7 line. Looks like they're going to probably do a flanking maneuver down the 9-10 line, which Schlieffens can do that really well. And then they also have 2 Yamatos as well. So our goal is to punish broadside. It's to support our teammates in being in this more central battleship positioning. Now, most players, as I said in the beginning of this video, they just tend, as a battleship, they just tend to go for the flank. Okay, it's not like a bad thing. It's more like players do that out of habit and not really thinking maybe things through all the time. But when you're in a battleship that has a decent accuracy and can punish, then a central battleship positioning works really well. So Yamato, Vermont, Montana, trying to think of some other ships. I don't necessarily know if Colombo would do so well. The Incomparable probably could. As you can see, our Schlieffin decided to just run up the 10 line, like just didn't take his finger off the W key the entire match and ran right into 5 enemy ships. So really great of him. Yeah. You know, you can actually even do a pretty decent job with Poison as well. Even your battle cruisers like Stalingrad, Alaska could do. So, I mean, there's a good number, even tier 9s, tier 8s, that you could do more of what I'm doing right now in the middle of the map. Even North Carolina would do okay. Iowa would definitely work out. Amagi would be good. So when you have the type understanding your ship and how it works, and how you can contribute to your team, locking down the mid of the map and providing support for, you know, we slapped Brisbane a little bit ago. I can get some shots over on A. I can also get shots on between Charlie and Delta, because now I'm going to be drawing more of my attention. I'm already turning my turrets to deal with this enemy threat on the C-D cap flank, so the 8-9 line. So as typical, you're already seeing the Schlieffens move up. We also have a Minotaur who's chilling out back over here. And we only have, we have 2 destroyers, a Salem, Yu Yang, and we also have a Salem, I believe it looks like from, yeah, Salem. So my attention needs to help my flank over here on the right, because it's a 3 versus 5 if I don't assist here. So the goal is to kind of push the Schlieffens in the sense that they're not going to want to just simply run broadside up the 9 line. I want them to know I'm going to punish them for it and playing in this position. So we catch the Minotaur before he smokes up, so maybe we get lucky with the rear turret. And we get 1 Citadel, so that works out nicely. And so letting my team know that we did do some damage on that Minotaur. And now the push, see if we can't punish the broadsides of the Schlieffens, and we get 2 pins and another Citadel. So we can punish them, and this actually works out really well because Yamato can punish those typical type of brawling battleship push plays on the flank. Schlieffen is essentially a battle cruiser. She takes a lot of penetration damage, and with guns like this at that range, we can easily punch through and get that Citadel like you saw earlier. So I want to play as a support and muscle back. So the downside, I guess I would say, to this playstyle is that it's a very passive playstyle. We haven't moved very much at all since the start of this battle. Now, you don't want to just be sitting still, allowing the enemy team to just do a nice lineup. There's 2 enemy Yamatos, both of which are playing very passively on the enemy team still. You could say we're playing passively, but I don't know how much really damage the other enemy Yamatos are doing at this point in time. But we're playing passively, so it's not a very exciting role to play, and I think that's one of the reasons why you don't see many players play battleships in more of the central positioning like what we have going on here. So you just take a little bit of chip damage there, not much. And not to be a spoiler alert, but we're not actually going to take very much damage at all this battle in this type of positioning, because there's a lot of ships between myself and I have some multiple friendlies between myself and the enemy team here. But this passive positioning, probably, I would say, it becomes more rewarding as the battle progresses. Maybe not so much in the early part of the stages of the game. Maybe you get lucky with some salvos, which, we've gotten 3 Citadels so far, but not no punch-out, knockout blow. As you see, the enemy Yamato gets a knockout blow on our Salem. So that Yamato player, he did fine in that regard, because he wasn't just sitting behind the island. As our Ragnar picks off the Shimikaze, which is great. So it's still definitely a threat of the enemy team over here, so I'm asking for intelligence data, so we want to pick off this Schlieffen before he is able to escape. And so I thank my team for spotting, because when you're playing this central battleship positioning, you have to rely on your team to do the spotting. So this kind of relies a little bit on your team as well. All of our destroyer players are still alive, which is fantastic. The fact that we've not lost any destroyer players 8 minutes into the game is like amazing. Very, 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 very good. So hats off to all these destroyer players for not dying in the first 3-4 minutes of the game, unlike the Schlieffen player earlier who just debuted up the 10 line. So it relies on destroyer players. So this, I would also say, as the Schlieffen takes a shot at us, this is going to be kind of funny to watch his incoming salvo on us. So we're going to zoom out here, and we're not even that angled, but it's just Schlieffen guns. No damage. So Schlieffen guns don't carry a punch, so we're not really too concerned about them. So I can play like this and be fine. And we get to use our spotter plane as well, trying to figure out what he's up to. Try to punish him if he keeps deciding to push up, because he's probably want to get the island between myself and him. At least that's what I would do in this situation. Yes. So we also, if we have the opportunities to, we do want to try to take some shots at the enemy daring, if possible for us to do here. So we don't have any other targets, so we're not just going to hold the shot. So we actually are going to go ahead and try and see. And again, talking about playing in this central positioning, we don't want to be sitting still all the time. So we are going to be reversing, we're going to be accelerating, trying to make it a little difficult for any team to figure us out here. So meantime, we lose the Brisbane, so we've lost 4, they've only lost 3 ships. But we do have the advantage with the caps so far, so we have them a little bit on the back foot for the time being. Now the Minotaur pulls out here, and we're trying to figure out, is he just going to keep going like that? And then we're going to reverse more to try to get our rear turret in action here. And we get the Dev Strike. So we definitely help out our Shimakaze player there, because I'm pretty sure he would have died if we weren't able to punish that Minotaur like that. And of course, we're also concerned about that Schlieffen making a play. So now we're going to get the rear turret into action here. So that's what I like about this central battleship positioning play. Now, if we simply lose our destroyers or we have no presence on this right flank, then that means I would be getting into a kiting. I'd be backing off more from this position. Another downside to playing a central battleship position, as we're going to angle in a bit more here, is if your team leaves the mid wide open and there's nothing able to stop them from an enemy destroyer like Shimakaze running up the mid, that's a big threat to you as well, right? So that's really difficult for us to handle here. So for the meantime, I'm trying to help out my clanmate, and he's got a Worcester and then the Brisbane there. So we do want to do what we can to help out here, and I want to see if we can get this rear turret back in to help out my Shimakaze player. So we do lose Void and Naihate, so it's we've lost 5, they've lost 4. And we still have the points advantage for now. Now this Daring is slowing down. He wants to get his smoke, so we are going to still shoot. I mean, we still had the lock on for that time being. Void does take the Worcester with him, and we are able to pick off the Daring. So right now, I think we are equalized in terms of the kills. Yeah, it looks like it. As the Schlieffen takes some deep water trips there from our Yu Yang, who's been playing quite well. He's not even lost, or he's only lost a tiny bit of health. So now with the island between us and the Schlieffen, so we want to see if we can't punish him. We're also not detected when we're firing, which is great. So if he is paying attention, which he is, he can simply just turn out and get very close to almost ramming this island. So one of the things that also works out well for us is that we've not even had to use a heal yet. We've hardly lost any damage. So it means that we're a pretty big threat for the enemy to deal with later on. I mean, they have only 1 destroyer. We've lost 2 now, but they've done really well considering all things considered. So again, the Schlieffen's going to take a salvo at us at range. The Schlieffen guns lose a lot of pin. Now against cruisers, definitely a different story. With those, I think it's 406s that your Schlieffen has. So our Yu Yang is playing really wisely. He's utilizing the island between him and Schlieffen, take some pot shots. In this, he's not afraid to utilize sacrificing some concealment to try to get some damage in here against that enemy Schlieffen. So we're going to push up because this Schlieffen, he probably wants to get a heal off if he has any. And one of the things you can do when you're dealing with an enemy player who's really constantly avoiding your salvos is that you can ripple fire, I guess is what I'd call it, where you space your shots out like we just did there. So we don't fire all of them at the same time. We fire 1, fire 2 in a different spot, fire 3 in a different spot, just to be able to spread the shots out a little bit. It makes it more difficult for them to actually try to figure out a good way to avoid. So Yu Yang opens up. He does sacrifice some health, but he does ensure that we get the kill on the Schlieffen before he possibly gets another heal off. And now with no threats to the entire right side of our flank, our Yu Yang can go up and flip C. And then I can just push in more nose here, and I can begin to sacrifice more of my health. And it's not that we purposely didn't want the enemy team shooting at us. The Yamatos could have easily been shooting at us even more earlier into the battle as well. None of us were not really interested into each other. So I can push up here because you can see our Schlieffen and our Ohio are both really low. So I'd like to, if possible, as our Ragnar detonates the Sherman, expose myself to the enemy team in a little bit of regard so that they would try to take some shots off and focus on me. So I have to turn back in because I need to be mindful of the enemy model. If he, the one on the 5 line, decides to fire over the island into me, so we're going to turn in and we're just not really going to worry about that rear turret anymore. So we'll take this last salvo off here at the enemy motto. If we kill him, it's going to be an instant win, and we get Citadel here. Oh, I'm sorry, almost an instant win. So that's 171,000 damage. So this is a very passive play, but it's a very impactful play because we kind of lock down that enemy push up the 8, 9, 10 line, and that we were being able to really pay attention to our team, see how the enemy is positioning and how we can best support them. So 171,000 damage, 859,000 credits, 10,000 experience, 3,754 free XP. Here we're going to have top of the team with 2,500 base XP, and maybe didn't feel like a really flashy play in terms of our positioning and running around on the map or on flank, but we're still able to do a lot in that central positioning. So it is valid, it is warranted if you have a ship that can do well with this. And we only took 8,000 damage, so we had plenty of health to spare, and you can see our damage is pretty spread out. Even the damage we got in the daring, we did contribute to get him knocked out. And then with premium account, after expenses, you can see this is what we took home at net with the premium account. So all in all, I hope this video kind of shows you, I would say, a playstyle that's not always highlighted so much with WoW's YouTube videos, at least that I see. And so this is it's a very passive play. It's probably not the most exciting. But when you're playing Yamato, you're playing something like Vermont, you're kind of just living for those salvos, you know, catching the enemy team off broadside, or being able to just punch through and having these weighty guns that can just punch right through their armor. You know, the light cruiser, there's more of those enemy battle cruisers, so on and so forth. So it can be quite fun contributing, playing kind of like the back of the team, not like the J line or the A line, but in a position where we can see what's going on with our teammates and how can we support them, because I very much like trying to be a team player when possible. Like that salvo we got on the Minotaur, even though he nosed in against us when he's trying to take out our Shimakaze. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you did not, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.